So, how about that raid on Area 51?
When did that happen?
Well, I think it's like September 12th, or is it the 21st, maybe? I don't know.
I thought it was a little while ago.
Oh, no, just all the hype is about it. It's in September.
Okay.
So it's either like, as of the airing of this episode, it will either have just happened.
They should just keep pushing it out so that the government still has this thing like hanging over them. Like, fuck, they're gonna. All right, it's a month later. We bring all the troops back.
I just wonder how many people are going to go just to see who goes.
Yeah.
Like, my guess is 50% of the people who end up there are just there to see who's
I think that's the majority, and everyone, and I don't even know that anyone's going to rush.
No, I can't imagine anyone actually will. Well, someone
the
will.
other 50%. There'll be some people on some pretty heavy medication.
Yeah.
Or other recreational
Yes.
drugs.
It's going to turn into, like, Burning Man, but trespassing.
Mm-hmm.
Which could be kind of fun. Well, the fading out of our music sounds like it's time for us to start episode 10 of our lovely Video Reformation podcast. We are going to be talking about full funnel video today.
Mm-hmm.
Before we jump into that, I'd like to hear from our new sponsor.
Okay. Let's pull them up.
Really excited about this one.
Yeah. No, Okay. I'll just jump right in because I know we've got a lot to talk about with them.
Not about the episode, but with them.
Right. About the sponsor. Yeah.
Yes,
There's
they
a
are.
lot.
They are fun.
Do you find yourself bouncing from one diet fad to the next just to lose that final 10 pounds of stubborn belly chub? Then you'll love trying Gooey's Cheese Fast. Gooey's Cheese Fast is a modified Atkins diet based solely on, you guessed it, cheese. And it's not just a giant block of cheddar. No. Sign up today for a 10-day Cheese Fast subscription at gooeycheeses.com/storyboard. And you'll get your first 3 shipments for free. Each day you can expect a brand new box of cheese specifically designed to fit your body, your goals, and where you are in the process. So dump your latest and greatest diet fad and dump some cheese down that throat. Visit gooeycheeses.com/storyboard to get your first 3 cheeses free when you sign up for a 10-day fast. They do have a disclaimer here. Gooey's Cheese Fast is not medically recognized as a safe or effective diet. And I think, just a personal note, I just think science hasn't caught up to where Gooey's is. And, their 16 plus customers have raved about it.
Only 3 deaths.
3 deaths. You'll notice the green in my eye.
Uh-huh.
Like, not the blue part, but where the whites are.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like getting green. It's the toxins coming out. It's one of the side effects.
Do they actually come out, or do they just like move into visible
bubble up
places?
into your? Yeah, there are some so the green eye whites. Several unexpected trips to the bathroom, followed by severe constipation.
Right, and that's the tricky part. That's like what I'm experiencing with my insomnia.
Uh-huh.
It's like I'm so tired, but I can't get to sleep. With the cheese diet, I'm so need to poop, but I'm so bound up because of all the cheese.
Yeah, it's the toxins coming out. Also, sweaty palms and some minor nervous system glitches.
Sure. Yeah. Potential cardiac arrest.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, welcome to our sponsor,
Gooey's Cheese Fast.
Gooey's Cheese Fast. All right. Well, today we're going to kind of continue our track of walking through the 7 phases of practicing effective video for business. Last episode, perhaps due to an overall lack of planning in what our upcoming episodes would be, we covered most of what we were going to cover in the production episode in our pre-production episode when we talked about basically putting a crew together. Because production is largely executing the plan you put together in pre-production, just like steps 2 through 7 of the phases are executing your strategy, which is step 1. So in lieu of being able to get into a non-repetitive, detailed discussion about production, and we can sit here and wait for 55 minutes or however long that episode was while you listen to the pre-production episode. We're going to talk today more about types of video that you can make throughout the funnel. We've talked before about our favorite strategic concepts. This is more about kind of go-to options as you're kind of creating your own roadmap and things that we've seen be successful. We're going to get a little bit into some of the misconceptions about some of these concepts. Some of the, I imagine there'll be some discussion about which of this content fits in marketing content versus sales content versus customer success, because there are blurry lines there, but largely talking about kind of the most common types of videos today.
Yeah. So as we go through this and we talk about the different types of video, is it going to be in order? Like, is that like, even if we're just talking about the marketing top of the funnel, are they still in order?
They're in a loose
Some
order.
debate
I imagine
probably will arise.
Yeah, some debate will arise, some friendly debate. Mm-hmm. We've got a bit of a structure here. I think it starts with top of like pre-awareness part of the funnel, and kind of works its way down the funnel, and then there are just always some other ideas. I think we've got some things on our sales list here that, depending on the company, I might put more in a marketing. But I think generally speaking, they're in order.
Okay.
So then I think we can jump right into that kind of pre-awareness part. And this would be the type of content that oftentimes you don't see as necessarily branded. It's certainly lightly branded, if anything.
Yeah.
But it's that, for lack of a better term, thought leadership content, or if you want to call it expertise content. And there's so many ways that you can share that type of content. I mean, we had a couple video series, Video Marketing Unscripted. We had Press Play. That was a way for us to share our expertise and our thoughts and answer people's questions. It was lightly branded. It was you and I. It was talking about what we love to talk about.
More you than me.
Well, I mean, You've
always been the face of this company.
Yes.
The baby face.
The baby face.
You've got fur.
I do have some fur.
It kind of stopped during your cheese fast. It kind of stopped growing for a little bit.
Yeah. Well, it all just falls out really quickly.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Getting the toxins pushing everything out.
Yeah. And apparently, according to cheese, facial hair are toxic.
Are toxics.
Yes. Also, problems with words.
That's the nervous system.
Yes. But I'm on day 16 of my cheese fast, so I'm sure everything will be fine.
You really stuck with it.
I'm down 28.5 pounds.
Wow.
Yeah.
Looking good. The color, your skin color is not great.
No.
Yeah. That'll come back.
No. And I thought it was just the kind of yellowish orange tint that I have over everything that I see.
Uh-huh.
But apparently what I see in the mirror, I'm actually a yellowish orange.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
What are some other types of thought leadership video? Like, help me get an understanding of what this might look like.
So I think it could be like a chalk talk kind of thing, and I hesitate to say whiteboard video, but like it could actually be somebody standing there with a whiteboard diagramming out some thoughts, not like the whiteboard animation videos that we always.
John Costigan does some. He's a known in the sales world. He's like a speaker, coach, not one of those like new age coaches, but like a really sales consultant kind of coach. But he has some fantastic videos. We'll put something in the show notes so you can kind of check him out on LinkedIn. But he has a really, really interesting way of doing that. So
I think, The Future is another YouTube channel that has a lot of that type of content. A lot of theirs are also from presentations that they're giving in certain places, a lot of like workshop type stuff.
Okay.
So you'll see kind of a live audience, and he does a lot of interacting with the audience, and he'll kind of get their scenarios and work through how they can get to, pricing, design thinking or creative thinking, something like that.
I like that too, because you hear the audience, they probably have a lot of the same questions you're asking yourself.
Yeah. But I think presentations in general, we've talked about it with Event Video before, if you're hosting a user conference or something like that, you get to own that thought leadership because you're curating that event and you're, programming speakers to speak to your audience that probably extends to your video audience.
Talking about the future of AI in your industry.
Yeah. I would anything too product specific or internal specific, I would take out of that.
Yeah.
But if you've got
there's a place for that, but
if
not
you've got
at
a
the
partner or a client who's kind of giving a case study or here's what we see industry trends coming and stuff to watch out for, that's that kind of stuff that you can own.
Even a case study, huh?
Well, yeah, I think so. If it's
debate.
If it's structured such that that people can identify with the original challenge or problem that was there that client was facing. I would want to maybe coach my presenter to keep it, not so much solely on our product, but more about how they made a series of changes, and our solution may have been one of those changes, so that you can share that kind of anything that you can share that can get that light bulb to go off on someone, over someone's head, who's in your audience. And then what you do is you get to leverage being the curator and provider of that content. So there's a large part of it where you're sharing your own expertise and saying, we know more about this, or here's how we think about this differently than anyone else. But then there's also, here are the people who we think's voices should be amplified.
Let's see, what else? Just because we're actually talking on a podcast, there are such things as video podcasts. We bypassed that that layer of this, but
I think we made a good decision about it, right? I mean, we thought our default thinking was because we're a video company, we should have a video podcast.
Yeah.
But once we got into it, we realized that there wasn't a whole lot that visuals were going to add. So why limit the ability for someone to just listen the way that people actually consume audio podcasts, and require that they be able to see something? I think we'd limit our reach. And
I think the value in showing video, especially on this one, is just to show your figure after the 16 days.
Yeah.
And that but we can probably put a photo or something in the show notes.
Yeah, I can share a before and after nudes. Yeah.
Afternoon?
I can do it afternoon.
Okay.
Yeah, it's better in the morning.
Okay.
But I can do it afternoon.
Okay.
Yep, afternoon nudes.
Right, back to thought leadership content. What about, do you feel like webinars fit in here in any way?
I don't. I tend to see webinars as that kind of further down in the self-education funnel. I think they certainly serve a purpose in sales. I tend to put webinars in the marketing group, but I wouldn't put them in that kind of top of like pre-funnel, pre-awareness area.
I suppose it depends on the content to some degree.
It does. If it was, you see a lot of companies partnering for webinars these days.
Yep.
And doing live webinars, so that might be more of an educational kind of thing. I think that's actually a really good point. That's the kicker. If it's the type of webinar that is, how to use video in your ABM strategy, that's brought to you by Vidyard and Terminus, that's something that I would probably watch, whether I was considering Vidyard to buy or Terminus to buy.
Yeah.
I would probably watch that just to understand how other companies are doing that. Whereas if it were a webinar on, something more specific within one of those products, like an hour-long webinar on how to, link Microsoft Azure with whatever, that's that kind of thing that I need to know before I say, yes, let's buy this.
Right.
Not something that I need to know to like necessarily be better at my job because it's so specific. So I think that's a good point. I'd actually break webinars down into two different types.
Sure.
Okay. So I think we've got some people into the funnel now, right? It's a long play, but we've established our expertise. Cheese. I need more cheese. we've established our expertise with our thought leadership content, and now we've actually got people saying, oh, these guys know what they're talking about. Let's see what else is going on here. And so to me, this is where I think the kind of the conjoined triangles of success, the triumvirate of marketing video content kind of comes in. It's got a little bit of a Simon Sinek slant, but at the top of your kind of 3 levels of video here is our why. And this is the Simon Sinek
WHY.
Why. Why.
Why, thank you.
The why video. Yeah. And this is the why we do what we do. It's what motivates us. It's that mission, that thing that people can connect to regardless of what it is or how you do it. And that's not something you can fake. We've worked with plenty of clients that don't have or didn't have a well-defined why. And so you have to be authentic in that type of video. And so, and we'll talk about company culture videos later. You have to be authentic in those kinds of videos too. You can't make a why video to figure out what your why is. You have to know what your why is and then say, how do we want to? Yeah.
That needs to come from the CEO, and basically everyone needs to echo that.
Yes. Yeah. And so from an audience standpoint, from a journey standpoint, they say, wow, that connects to why I do what I do. Or I respect that. That is a brand that I am interested in that approach. I am interested in that passion, that mission. What is it they do? Right? And so you hook them in with that, this is why we do what we do, and then you move them to that, what is it that you do video. So if you're a SaaS company, maybe you've got 4 or 5 products, that one why applies to everything that you do.
Yep.
But then you may have 4 or 5 what videos, each on it's kind of the features and benefits. Our phones are off because we're all professionals here.
Yeah, what was that noise?
That was, I don't know, that was a...
Oh, the 2 Bobs have a new podcast out.
Well, don't advertise our competition.
No, they're... nobody listens to them.
No, nobody's ever heard of them. Where was I?
What?
So what is then you could have 4 or 5 what videos on the features and benefits of your product. And then that then would get someone interested in, oh, well, that's a product that could help me. I could benefit from those benefits. Let me dig in more into how this thing actually gives me those benefits. And so then you may take 3 or 4 of the key feature sets of that product, and you may do a video for each of those, so that as B2B buyers are doing so much self-education, before they're reaching out to anyone, they can kind of follow that path, connect to your brand from a fundamental philosophical and emotional level, see that what you do is something that could benefit them or not, and then they bounce out, and that's fine. And then you want them to move to how they can start to see how it could work for them.
Let's talk about the funnel for a second. When does content become a part of sales? Is it who's using it, how it's being used, or the content itself? Because you could say that a marketing qualified lead is where someone says, oh, yes, I am a good candidate for this product, and I want to know more. Some companies, basically, okay, that's an MQ, I'll pass it over to sales. The SDR will develop that relationship and understand if they are a good fit, and then pass them to an account executive. I could see some of those feature videos, those how this thing works videos, being a part of the sales process. Do you have any thoughts on that?
I do. I think... First off, I think every organization has a different definition of what an MQL is, and that largely dictates where the dividing line between marketing and sales is. A lot of companies are really good at producing a lot of content and putting a lot of information out there and putting a lot of lead generation forms out there that make it easy for customers to... I mean, if you want to define an MQL as someone who has been interested enough in you to give you their information, which some companies define that. Once we capture any lead information from an individual, they become an MQL. Then there are certainly products that I have given my email for to get a white paper that I know that I will never use that product, and I almost immediately unsubscribe from the newsletter that I had to subscribe to. So I wouldn't consider myself an MQL, but a lot of companies do, define that as an MQL, for example. So I think the cop-out answer is it depends on the organization. How much work are you trying to save? I think it has a lot to do with your customers too. How much do they need to self-educate before they're willing to say, I'd like to be contacted by someone? And a lot of that has to do with where you are in the marketplace. We've talked about the law of diffusion of innovation before. And if you're kind of an early adopter, you need less social proof, you need less proof in general, you're more willing to take risk. You probably need to see less to make a decision. Whereas if you've crossed the chasm, then more of your audience probably needs a little bit more information, so you may need to provide them with more before they become an MQL.
I guess maybe I didn't state the question right, but so that explains.
It was a great answer.
Yes, but that it kind of explains how a company may define whether a person is a sales lead or still in the marketing funnel. But as it pertains to the content, is that sales content or is it marketing content, and how and why would you answer a particular way?
Well, I'm going to ask you your thoughts after I give another answer, but I would then say, if that's the question, and I think that's what you asked, I chose to answer something else.
Well, it's related and a good point.
I think it comes down to the distribution channel then. Who's using it? If it's something that is on your site in an easily findable place, then I would say that's marketing content. If it's something that your sales people and your sales team is going to use in their one-to-one communications, then I would say it's sales content. And there's definitely a difference between marketing content and sales content, but sometimes there is content that can be used in both places.
Sure.
And so you can put something in a place on your site that's easy for someone to find, but they may be the type of person who is willing to take on more risks, so they reach out to sales earlier before they investigated everything. And so maybe there's something that was publicly available that a salesperson sells, that a salesperson shares with them. But I would then just define it by the distribution channel. Is it something that you're making publicly available to the masses, or is it something that your salespeople are sharing in a one-on-one scenario? Mm-hmm. But that's how I would define it. I'm interested how you would.
Yeah, I was going to lean mostly in that direction of how is it being shared? Is it being shared one-to-one or one-to-many? And that's the particular content, like you said, could be the same for marketing content and for sales content, but how it's delivered in the messaging.
Yes.
It is also going to help dictate, is this more sales-oriented content or is it more marketing content? Again, this could be a demo kind of video, right? But you might have a different voiceover script in a marketing demo and a different voiceover script for a sales demo, because people would, if they're engaging with a salesperson, they're probably further committed and want to know some more X's and O's rather than how is my life going to change. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, we've discussed a lot of times how there's a lot of gray area in all this, but I think we're starting to whittle that down a little bit.
Yeah.
Every client.
Well, and it speaks to, two key parts of the manifesto, right? Specific and integrated. Whether you're putting a video somewhere on your site for someone to find in their self-education process, or you're a salesperson sharing a video as part of a 3-video playlist in an email, there is other context that you get to provide in that. So if it's a landing page that your video's on, that your marketing team is putting together, they're going to put a lead gen form either at the end of the video or in a form below it. They're going to be able to create the text context. They're going to be able to consider where it is on the site and the breadcrumbs and how they got to there.
If somebody had watched 80% or 20% might be the difference between an SQL and
Yes.
someone who's not qualified at all.
Yes, and then a salesperson gets to take potentially the exact same video, say, really enjoyed our conversation. It seems like the feature A, feature B, and feature D would have the most impact for you. Here are some deep dives into, here's 3 videos that go into a deeper dive of how those work. Would love to talk these through with you next week, at 2:00 on our call or whatever. So you get to, right, the integrated part is you get to create that context around that video and how it's delivered. And even if the content were exactly the same, it's going to have a slightly different impact, and you're going to want them to do something slightly different too.
So back to our list of video types and where they are in the funnel. We've done thought leadership stuff. We did why, what, how.
Why, what, how.
And next stop on our list is
others.
There's a lot. Yeah.
The next stop on our list, those are kind of the core, right? There's the pre-awareness stuff. There's then the kind of starting to move you through the funnel. And then there's the other types of marketing content. Talk to me a little bit about, we had an interesting discussion in preparing for this about, the types of ways you could do, and maybe documentary as a style, but where are the opportunities to do, kind of brand doc type stuff?
Yeah. So the difference between documentary and scripted largely is, those I see live action as being either documentary or scripted.
Yep.
Scripted could take many formats, but essentially you've got your lines written out. Documentary is much looser than that, where there's more, it's more gathering footage, and then at the end you're kind of whittling that footage down into a nice compact story.
Yeah, to me, scripted is you determine your specific message before you shoot. Documentary is you determine your specific message after you shoot, but it doesn't mean you go into documentary unprepared.
Yeah, you have a general message.
You've got your bullet points.
How it's going to be said, when.
Yeah.
It all depends on your
subject. I want to talk to this person about this story.
Yep.
That's the pre-interview type work that you do to do those, but then you're actually putting the individual pieces together after the fact, whereas you hand a voiceover actor or a host or whatever a script, and the words aren't going to change.
So there are a variety of docs you can kind of use in this marketing area. One being kind of like a pulling back the curtain. And here, it might be a founder's story of how, as a kid, they always tinkered with, from an engineering standpoint, like taking things apart and building things in new ways and building things that people had never seen before, and how that translates into the mission of the company and what they produce. Others, sort of those brand affinity. Yeti does a lot of documentaries. They have pages and pages of documentaries of some guy from Utah who owns a horse ranch, and they don't ever really show Yeti, or they don't really talk about Yeti. It might show it.
He just kind of uses it through his awesome ranchness.
Yeah. Shows the lifestyle of a Yeti user, of a Yeti customer, and you start to say, you know what? I like that lifestyle. I think of myself as that kind of person.
I'm a Yeti man.
I'm a Yeti man.
I think that it's probably worth noting that I think that stuff tends to have a lot more value in B2C brands than in B2B brands. Or at least you see it used more in B2C than B2B. There's probably a way to be clever and do it from a B2B, but so much of B2B is consensus selling. And that those kind of customer profile things it's about a personal story. Like, I want to be like that guy. And that's why they do 30 of them, because they know what their 30 primary personas are, right? And they're not just saying, oh, that guy's cool. This guy represents our archetype B, right? And so we're going to do this thing on him, and all of our archetype B prospect or potential customers out there are going to connect with this guy, and they're going to want to be a Yeti man. And then there's this one that's the working mother who's schlepping kids around, but I identify with her. B2B selling is so much more of a consensus thing that it's oftentimes harder to make that personal connection.
Yeah, I would say the B2B version of that could be like a case study.
Yeah.
Doc style case study.
Yeah, I think I'd
perhaps.
do it maybe. I think I'd start with probably doing it more on job title and role. You know, and say, okay, well, let's get a marketing director talking about how this, you know, let's follow them, and this is a really cool marketing director, and let's make sure that they're using our product as just part of what they do. That could be a way to do it, and so I think you get a little bit more leeway to advertise at that point too in B2B, and so I think you could actually put in more references to them actually using the product in their job, because you're following them in their job, not necessarily their life. Okay. I like the pulling back the curtain stuff too. There's we work with so many SaaS companies and tech companies too, and it's so hard to keep those companies from just being seen as their product. And so those kinds of documentary things are a really good way to personalize and kind of humanize the brand and take it from, you know, just the technology, but there are people who had to make this technology. And there are people who work with our customers every day who are influencing what the next version of our technology looks like, because, you know, these are the three people in customer success who are always on the phone with customers and developing these relationships, and those conversations go straight to the developers. And, you know, if you can show that it's actually people working together, brand docs are a great way to kind of, you know, humanize those techie brands.
Kind of in this pulling back the curtains, but also in the kind of what we believe. You might show how your team went out, in the whole marketing department spent a day at Habitat for Humanity building a house.
Yep.
Where, you know, there's culture elements to this that it's not necessarily about recruiting. Of course, you could use that in the recruiting sort of funnel, but this is about, these are good people. I want to support a company that gives back to their community. Another way to do a sort of brand doc style piece for your in a marketing capacity.
Yep. What about commercials, for lack of a better term? And I don't, you know, take TV out of your head even. But, you know, like Geico's pre-roll ads, or Monday, that project management software that I just
we
see
the only ones who get that?
I can't imagine.
I'm hoping
we
someone
are.
comments and lets me know, because
Yeah.
I get Monday.
I get Monday pre-roll
ads
all the time.
Constantly.
Yes, good. Okay. Well, maybe it's just our IP address then. So you know, those kind of brand awareness,
Recall.
brand recall, brand not even brand affinity, brand lift kind of stuff, where, so there's the common trope in marketing and sales that you need to make, and depending on who you ask, it's a different number, anywhere from like 7 to 12 touch points before a prospect recognizes your brand. And so it's a way to, you know, create something that can reach millions of people multiple times, and maybe it takes up 3 or 4 of your 7 to 12 touch points or something like that. But we're talking about, like, I mean, the big brands are the ones who do it best. The Geicos, Wix is another one that I see so often, right? And they're not
A lot of insurance.
yeah, a lot of insurance. It's just, again, there are a lot of, I mean, Monday isn't, but there are a lot of B2C products. And so they just know that they need to reach a ton of people, and that almost anybody is a
At any
potential, prospect for them.
But like IBM, they put out, you know, a good amount of commercials that just talk about the general Watson.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
like we're doing Watson,
or
we're the future.
Common doing a spoken word piece about AI.
Yeah.
Yeah. I hate that we're only coming up with big brand opportunities, because I think there's an opportunity for smaller companies to do a lot of that stuff. And then depending on, you know, if you're doing it on YouTube or if you're doing it on LinkedIn, as promoted campaigns, there's still value to a lot of that.
I think the difference, the Geico commercials are accessible. Everybody knows them because everybody sees them.
Because there are a ton of them and they are everywhere.
And
20
because
plus
of what you
years.
said, everybody can buy that.
Yeah.
Not everybody is going to buy a particular technology.
Right.
So a lot of times those brand recall, brand lift is often implemented in a retargeting strategy. So we may not be able to talk to our audience about they may be like, what the fuck is Monday?
Right.
So I just think it's less accessible. It's always more specific to what you're doing and your timing and what you're searching for, what you visited. But yeah, commercials play a role. They're a big part of marketing. I love the 6-second ad for that reason. It's quick.
Yeah.
It's brand, and there's usually like just time for one thought.
Yes.
And that's the thought you want people
And
to
the people
associate
who are-
with your company.
The people who are making the 6-second ads are saying, how can we make the most impact with this 6 seconds? You extend it out to 15 seconds and all of a sudden creativity almost dies.
It
Right?
can.
It's like, I have 15 seconds, I can say whatever I want to say.
Yeah.
But in 6 seconds, you got to really think about, this is why we talk about all the time. People come to us and say, yes, I'm looking for a short video, which we tend to decode as cheap. But shorter is not easier than longer. Shorter is oftentimes a whole hell of a lot harder than longer.
Yep.
And so shorter, a lot of the time, can actually be more expensive because you have to put a whole lot more thought into what you're saying because you have less time to say.
A good source to learn more about commercials for B2B companies in this sense is Google's Unskippable Labs. They have a small group of people who are it's a YouTube team who continually tests and researches and looks at the success of certain ads versus others and how to build campaigns that people don't skip. Obviously, you can't skip a 6-second ad, so that's part of it. But how do you get someone to stay there for 4 minutes to watch something as a
Right.
pre-roll?
Yeah.
I've done it a couple times,
Sure.
mostly as a B2C or even like a direct-to-consumer ad. Those ones are really kind of fun.
The two that come to mind, those skippable but long, but you watch it, are, I guess it's either Squatty Potty or what's the Poopery?
Poopery.
Yeah. And then Purple Mattresses are the ones that I get a lot.
Yeah.
And they put a lot of creativity into those almost infomercial
Yeah.
type things. And you went to go watch something else on YouTube, and yet you find yourself watching it. I mean,
Yeah.
those it's pretty impressive when you
Yeah.
think about somebody went to go watch something else, and then they're spending 4 minutes watching your product video.
Or completely diverted their attention to now they're buying Poopery.
Yeah,
They're
absolutely.
on their site
Yep.
getting samples. And
Okay, so
and sniff.
let's demarcate the line right here as between marketing and sales. And let me hand it over to you as our resident sales expert to start talking about some more salesy content.
We've kind of dissected product videos, the what's and the hows, and how they can live in both worlds. So I'll kind of skip over product videos. I think a lot of it is just the method in which you're sharing it and the messaging. The content could be very similar. The goal is potentially slightly different. But yeah, so product videos.
Well, and I will say very quickly, I will try to say very quickly that, I mean, we've got a client who has over 100 products, but it's because they basically have like 6 or 7 main products, and then each of those products has a sub-product. So, potentially in the marketing part of the funnel, you could do video for that kind of parent product. And then in the sales process, now you've identified which of those individual sub-products is perfect because you've got it demarcated by industry or job type or something like
Yeah.
that. So
a deeper dive on that product.
and I would say the same thing with demos. You could go from the how, which is like, here are some of our key features, to like, here's how you do this in our platform, which to me is more of a sales thing than just how this feature works in general.
Also in the sales funnel, there's the 80% video. What that is
it's a video that's 80% done.
Yeah.
Okay.
If you've got, as a salesperson, you get asked there's probably 10 questions that you get asked on every call. If you could boil down all those questions to the most commonly asked questions and put that in a very succinct, maybe 1 minute video that kind of answers some of those. Or, if you're using something like Vidyard or Wistia where you can put little calls to action in the video, you can say, for this is how we handle it. But if you want some more information and you put a little button in the player, it lets someone kind of go educate themselves more.
Yeah.
But you're trying to overcome some of those like basic hurdles. It's one of those repeatable things that you should be able to scale as a salesperson and not have to do manually every single time.
Yeah. And that's why, the way that we uncover those is when we're doing our stakeholder conversations and springboards is we ask the salespeople, what do you wish your prospects knew before they got to you? Mm-hmm. Because whatever those answers are, and some of them, and you'll hear probably one or two that every single salesperson you talk to says, but that list will give you your don't just talk to one salesperson, talk to 5 or 6 different salespeople, 50, whatever you've got access to, and you'll see that there are very specific questions that have very consistent answers regardless of the use case.
Right.
That you get to, you don't have to do a whole lot of thinking. You just ask your salespeople, what do you wish people knew before they were talking to you? Compile that list, make a video that answers those questions. You're done.
Yeah. Testimonial videos. These can often be used in marketing, and I have no problem with that.
Yeah.
It's the reason I like them in the sales bucket is for the purpose of like reassuring someone's intent. If they're interested, if they've gone through, the steps of the sale with you, and they're kind of at that decision point, it'd be nice for you to be able to send them something that is, here's a client that we worked with, had the same problem as you. They're even in the same industry. See what, how it worked for them, and let's talk about it. Can you see yourself in those shoes? Mm-hmm. So I like it from I really like this, but I'm just not sure, to all right, there's social proof. Here are 6 companies that are like me who have done this, and that's enough for me to make this, to say yes.
Yeah, and I think you're spot on with where this is in the funnel. But testimonials are so often that video that companies think to go to first. And I get that they have value. My cynical mind tends to think, and experience, tends to kind of think that testimonials are where people go first for video, because it's easier to have someone else tell you about your product or your service than for you to figure out how to describe it yourself.
And there's a lot of value in hearing it from somebody else.
There is. But it's, to your point, it is the risk mitigating type content. It's that I see that this brand is a brand I identify with. I see that this product is something that can help me. I see how it works, and I know that we could implement it. I just need to know, right? And so the testimonial comes in right there to kind of take that last little bit of risk out, because buying is all about mitigating risk.
Yep.
And so it belongs lower in the funnel, not that first thing that you do. So testimonials have value, but only when they're there as like level 4 risk mitigating content, as opposed to that things that people want to do first, because it's so much easier to say, what do you think about us, than to say, what do we think we want to share with people about us? I think there's a difference also between testimonials and case studies. And you can, the shoot could probably look very similar, but a testimonial is, here's how I use this,
Customer
and here's
led.
how it benefited me. A case study is, here's a challenge, or here's the problem that we faced with a client, or that a client faced. here's the solution that we provided them, and here are the results that it got. And oftentimes, people tend to think a testimonial will do that, but then they don't structure the questions in a way that get to challenge, solution, result. A case study has that structure. And so you could get a testimonial from someone, do that line of interview questions, and then change direction with the exact same person, structure it, and you could have a testimonial video and a case study video from the same client.
Okay.
Talk to me a little bit about one-to-one video in sales.
Again? Just kidding. No, we've brought it up several times on the podcast. That's why I said that.
Let's imagine that someone is listening to this episode.
Why would they
first.
not? Okay.
Welcome to the cast.
So one-to-one video, I suppose that's more of a methodology, but essentially there's two ways you can kind of use this. One is creating a very personalized, customized video that you intend for one person or one client to see. So that may be a recap of your conversation. It may be walking through a contract that you just sent them. It may be hey, I'm Justin, and you've been talking to Ben, our SDR. I'll be taking things from here as your account executive, and so those sort of like handoff videos, but they're very customized for one specific person. You can also use some of those platforms that help you create those custom videos. You can use those to also attach other produced content.
Right.
Whether that is something that you've produced just there with your webcam, like an 80% video, or it could be some marketing content that you thought would apply to this conversation, or help answer some of their questions.
Or like we already talked about, you really seem to, light up when I was walking you through feature A, B, and D. Here are some deeper dive videos for you to, take a look at.
Yep. And most of the platforms that give you the ability to send one-to-one video also give you some really interesting statistics. And from a sales perspective, that's huge.
Yeah. The more information you can get about a prospect's behaviors.
And you get more information from video than you do from any other media that you might create. Blog, white paper, podcast, YouTube channels, whatever.
Yep.
All right.
Okay. Anything else on sales?
I'm sure there are, but those are the big ones.
Yeah. So let's now say that someone has been sold.
Okay.
Someone has bought. So that kind of moves us to, the customer success section of the funnel. I think so much of it is going to flywheel now, but like even just the two-part funnel, so many people just see the top part of the funnel, and once somebody buys, they're like, we did it.
Yeah.
Let's go get someone else. But then it kind of inverts, and then there's a bottom part of the funnel where somebody becomes a customer, then they become loyal to you, and then they become an advocate for you.
Customer success, whatever you call that department, the post-sale department, they're also a revenue center.
Yeah.
For the company. A lot of times CROs are on top of marketing, sales, and customer success.
Yeah.
Because in the B2B world, and let's face it, a lot of B2B is software. That's a monthly recurring revenue or annual revenue, and you've got to sell them again every year, and you want to make sure that they're using the platform the right way, or at least getting enough out of it that it makes sense for them to keep buying, or hell, upgrade.
Yeah, and you may have a subscription model where it just automatically bills them every month, but any customer can usually go into that and say,
nope,
cancel my subscription. And so you got to keep them happy. And so that churn is definitely a part of it, minimizing churn, but that upsell is such a key part of it too, right? I see that you've been using this. If you upgraded to this, you would have 50 extra whatever it is we do's included per month or whatever. So what's a good way? So let's kind of take it chronologically.
Okay.
We've just sold a customer. The salesperson just sent me a Go video introducing my onboarding specialist. Where might some video fit in now in this process?
There's certainly live video, and I don't think that we often address that. But, you
True.
know, Zoom or anything else that facilitates that sort of live video, screen sharing, that kind of thing is a nice tool to use here.
You said Zoom, and I immediately went to make sure my webcam was covered up.
Okay. But the onboarding, so there might be a couple quick things that a client can do before they have their first customer success interaction. So if it's simply like setting up the software on their machine or any.
Well, so many solutions are kind of self-service, right? You sign up for. I mean, you
may have never talked
some
to
of the
anybody.
advanced enterprise level systems. There's an actual onboarding specialist that walks you through migrating your data and all that kind of stuff. But there's so many apps out there where you just decide to buy it. You know, like Frame.io, right? I mean, we never had an onboarding person walk us through that. They just had a series of videos that walked us through step by step how to use the platform.
Yep.
And then when they do updates, they'll send out a video showing the new updates and how you do this new stuff now.
I'm sure you've heard of WalkMe. There
Yeah.
are other apps that are like that, or not apps, but
Plugins.
solutions that will help a new user get acclimated. And they're starting to implement video within there. So whether it's on your phone, tablet, PC, whatever, those little like hints of like, hey, here's where you'll enter client names, and here's where you'll set up calendar reminders. If people have questions on actually how to do that, that's where you can say, like, in a learn more thing, a video might pop up.
Yep. Well, and because with video you get to show and tell. Whereas if you were just popping up a little text balloon somewhere, you're basically just telling someone,
Right.
here's where you'll do it. Whereas with the video, they can actually see the interface.
Which is so important to a
Which
new
is so important too, but you also got to be careful if you're working for a SaaS company that has a lot of updates. There's almost nothing more frustrating than watching a tutorial video or a help video based on the last version of the interface.
Yeah.
And so things have changed, and then you're like, okay, fine, I'll watch this 43-minute long video on how to do this because I need to know how to do this. And they're
it's-
using 2 versions ago.
Yeah.
So that's just something you got to stay on top of. And then I think for everyone else, there's all of that opportunity to do video and like FAQ and knowledge base type stuff.
Right. Just having that reservoir of help,
Yeah.
rather than it just being articles. Again, video, show and tell.
Yeah, and it's kind of a similar process to asking the salespeople, what do you wish, if you don't have an FAQ. If you do have an FAQ, just use all of the answers as scripts for videos, right? And then just take advantage of the showing part that you don't have if you're just, using text.
You have to imagine. Sorry.
But like with the salespeople, what do you wish people knew before they got to you? And creating that 80% video, creating an FAQ is pretty simple. You ask your customer support people, what questions are we getting the most? And you create your list,
Yeah.
and and it doesn't have to be hugely creative and compelling at this point. They've already bought, they need to know how to use it. So as long as you can make it clear to them how to use it and give them some sense of like, oh, this is a platform that I really like, then you're addressing a lot of the issues you have as a customer success department.
Yeah. You have to imagine if someone is your client, they're in your CRM. If you have a video hosting solution that integrates with your CRM, you will know who is watching which videos. As a client or a customer success manager or account manager, if you see someone looking through the knowledge base and watching videos that are of features that they don't have, that's an opportunity to upsell
Yep.
and grow those accounts and hit those revenue goals that I know your department is responsible for.
It's a really good point. Anything else for customer success, or should we move on to everything else?
there's a big pile of video still to
pile of
discuss.
other that doesn't fit into marketing, sales, or customer success.
Yeah, and again, we focus on those revenue teams, but there's good reason for other videos. So let's just quickly touch on some of those.
Yeah, I think in the HR family, there's certainly recruiting and culture videos. We mentioned the company culture video when we were talking about the why. Don't. Just because this happened to us before, and if it hadn't happened, I don't think I could make it up, but don't go to your video producer and say, I want you to make us a company culture video, and then answer their inevitable first question, which will be, what is your company culture? Don't answer that with, well, we hoped making this video would help us figure that out. This is something that has to be authentic. Don't show a ping pong table also. That's just another thing not to do in a company culture video. You have to be authentic to your culture. And, arguably your company culture is pervading and permeating all of your content. But this is the one where you actually get to be specific because you're trying to attract new hires. Recruiting video, I think, is kind of a big bucket. Recruiting video can be everything from employees talking about why it's so great to work there, to videos that go into the benefits that you offer that no one else does, to if you've got some core positions that you're always hiring for, making videos about those specific positions.
Those roles, yeah.
And those roles. So there's a lot of opportunities for video in HR.
We used to focus a little bit on HR, and that always ended up so low on the priority list that we never actually made any.
Yeah.
And just seemed like it wasn't worth our time to keep making those.
And it's not that we can't, but and there's a huge opportunity for it.
Right.
Because, depending on your market, there's probably a lot of competition for good talent. So you've got to separate yourself, just like you would to your prospects. You've got to separate yourself from anywhere else that your talented people could potentially go work. I think that's another angle too is, what's some internal comms type opportunities to use videos to keep your current team engaged.
Yeah.
Right? Share that. Make them feel like they're part of a team because, again, if they're really talented people, they're probably getting offers and, have opportunities elsewhere. Keep them happy once you got them.
I mean, most companies that we work with have TVs floating around the office. Not floating, but they're all over the place. And
technology hasn't been perfected yet.
These companies that we're working with are also rapidly getting funded. So they're going from 30 employees to 130.
Yeah.
And having little bios about people up on the screen could be a nice way to just get more familiar with the 100 new people at your office.
Yep.
Or highlighting the performance metric that a particular team hit. All that recognition is also really important, more so than money sometimes for some employees.
Externally, I think there's that humanizing. If you're that, post-funding startup that's growing fast and you're built on a technology, why not, have a little video showing, each of your employees as a person. Have it be part of their first day of onboarding.
It's their fun fact and their...
Yeah, it doesn't have to be any, it's not their LinkedIn page. Their LinkedIn page exists to show their resume. But, what's your favorite ice cream? What's your, favorite fun fact?
It's like your first day at camp. Everyone goes through this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The dreaded icebreaker.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's event videos, right? There's all sorts of event videos.
Sure.
Something that we do quite frequently.
Yeah, there's events that you're hosting, and then there's events that you're attending.
Sure.
So if you're exhibiting, if you have a booth at a trade show, for example, you want to create video that is going to capture the attention of the people who are walking by, not really paying attention from booth to booth. So you've got to get their attention visually, because it's also so loud in those places that you can't really get their attention from an audio standpoint.
Yeah.
So if you're making video for your trade show booth, make it visually compelling, make it entertaining, make it different, make it get their attention, but then rely on text and graphics and images, because you don't have that opportunity to necessarily put a VO in something because nobody's going to be able to hear it there anyway. If you're hosting an event, and of course we've got an entire podcast on how to do event video in this scenario. But basically, it breaks down into the three buckets of, getting butts in the seats, keeping butts in the seats once they're there, and then leveraging the butts that are there, which is basically promote the event, make the event better with video to battle the whole attrition thing, and then leverage who's there, your best clients, your best salespeople, your best partners, and how do we get them on camera while they're here instead of having to travel all over the country or world to capture these people, interview a dozen people in a day to get some good customer stories instead of having to go, a trip around the world every month to capture the same 12 people.
Yeah. They may not be as compelling as going and doing a mini doc on that client at their office, but you knock out 14 in a day.
You got a year's worth of content.
One a month.
Yeah.
And thousands and thousands of dollars more expensive. Yeah. Okay, so let's just put a bow on that.
Yeah.
That's a lot of different types of video and where to use them throughout the funnel. How would I transition into the next part? That's my transition to you.
I would pose a question to me asking how to do it, and then I would let me answer with, but what about...
Okay, I'm back.
That's the inception of transitions right there. But Justin, what about all the videos that I think of that you didn't mention? Like you didn't mention an About Us video, for example. And like our CEO asked me to do an About Us video.
Yeah, or social video.
A viral video.
Viral video. Or let's do a whiteboard video.
Let's just kill me now. Let's do an event recap video.
Yummy. A Kickstarter video.
I don't hear a whole lot of those anymore.
No.
But I imagine they're still a thing.
Yeah.
Yeah?
I imagine. I don't let them get very far when they come in the door.
Right. Yeah.
Not to say we're closed off to that opportunity, but...
So I don't want to invalidate any of those other than whiteboard and event recap. And I actually had an interesting discussion over bourbons a couple nights ago with one of our regular listeners about the value of event recap videos.
Which he's open to doing more often.
Yes. And I get why some people need to do event recap videos. It just don't lead with it. And I think that's where this list kind of is. We talked about not leading with testimonials because people kind of want to lead with testimonials because it's easier to let your customers tell you how to message yourself than to figure it out for yourself. It's not that testimonials don't have value. It's just that you don't want to lead with it. It's not that a viral video wouldn't be great, but you can't set out to create a viral video.
Yeah.
Viral is a function of something that just happens after something is created. You can't
Right.
set out to. Viral is a behavior description on the consumption of a video, not your intent in making it.
Yeah.
Social video is a channel.
Right.
And so any of the videos that we've discussed, a 6-second commercial could be great to use on social channels. Promoted posts, organic posts, whatever you want to do. Whiteboard videos, again, just avoid that one. So it's really more about hopefully we've provided a list where that's not a comprehensive list, but it's if through no fault of your own, you're thinking an About Us video, would it be more beneficial to have that brand why video? Is it that you really want a company culture video, right? Go back to the manifesto. What's your purpose, right? Is it we want an About Us video so that we can keep hiring? Well, then great. Let's do a recruiting video or let's do a company culture video.
Yeah.
If it's we have a really compelling founding story and we feel like our brand is too focused on our technology and not the people behind it, great. Let's do a founder's story. And so I think it's more that we're the marketing whisperers, right? And so it's okay to say we need an About Us video. You just need to take it that next step or two further to really figure out what it's going to accomplish for you.
Right.
You can call a company culture video. You can call a brand Y video an about us video. You can call a founding doc, story doc, an about us video. But what really is the purpose it's trying to serve? And so that's kind of that list of that bucket of I don't want to alienate anyone, but intellectually lazy, video ideas, kind of explainer videos. I would add to that too. As an explainer video, do you mean the video that introduces your product for the first time, or your brand, or is it here's a specific feature? Because that we've addressed in the why, what, how sequence.
Mm-hmm.
So, think about, don't just accept the terminology that everybody throws around, because it does have a lot of different meanings for different people.
Right.
And it really, you just need to get to what your purpose is to then kind of pull from the more specific list and say, here's the content we really need to make.
Mm-hmm.
And so even if you as a marketer need to hire a producer to make a company culture video, but your CEO asks for an About Us video, you can keep calling it the About Us video to your CEO.
Sure.
Just talk about it as the company culture video to your video producer.
Yep. Great.
That's how I would transition into that section.
All right, so let me give it a try. No.
Okay. Well, you tried.
I tried. I guess we'll just have to skip that part.
Try the cheese fast for 10 days.
Yeah.
And your mental acuity will
sharpen. Like a
sharp,
nice sharp
cheddar. On that note, I think it's time to hear from our sponsor.
Do you find yourself bouncing from one diet fad to the next just to lose that final 10 pounds of stubborn belly chub?
Yes, I do.
Then you'll love trying Gooey's Cheese Fast.
Excellent.
Gooey's Cheese Fast is a modified Atkins diet based solely on, you guessed it, cheese. And it's not just a giant block of cheddar. No. Sign up today for a 10-day Cheese Fast subscription at gooeycheeses.com/storyboard, and you'll get your first 3 shipments free. Each day you can expect a brand new box of cheese specifically designed to your body, your goals, and where you are in the process. Something I didn't mention earlier, they do start with kind of, as you know, more for our listeners, they start with that harder, like Parmesan, Romano.
Right.
Real kind of crunchy stuff. Kind of pushes out the big,
toxins.
Big toxins. and then you graduate to like a cheddar and a Swiss and
sure.
Mild softness. Eventually
a Havarti.
Getting to Gouda. Eventually getting to your kind of goopy cheese, like a brie,
or like a Laughing Cow kind of spreadable cheese.
Yes.
Yep.
Some even come in a pouch where you can just drink it.
There's a synergy opportunity here with Baby Bird.
I think so.
Yeah, we should. We'll set up a meeting.
And then, of course, your last day to, depending on how long you're going, your last day to 10
you're not
days.
going. That's the thing about this fast is you're not going.
Well, when it gets to the cottage cheese,
that clears everything out. All those built up
the big toxins, the little toxins,
all the cheese
toxins. Yeah.
All right.
So, again, there's a disclaimer. I'm not going to read it again.
No, just give them the link. Go to the link, click on the microphone, and type in storyboard. Yeah. What's the link again?
gooeycheeses.com.
Do we have to buy that now?
It is available.
Good. All right. Well, we are thrilled to have you as a sponsor. Please join us on our next episode where we'll be talking about post-production. That requires some planning.
We'll figure that.
That could be an interesting episode. No promises, but could be an interesting episode. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, review, etc., etc.
With enthusiasm.
Yeah. I think our ratings have kind of leveled out. I'd love to get some new ratings. I mean, hopefully they're 5-star ratings. Anybody who's made it to here is probably willing to give it a 5-star rating.
I don't think so.
I know I've given us at least 2 of our 5-star ratings.
Okay. 2 5-star ratings.
Yeah, of our
2 of 5
2 of 5, yes.
star ratings.
Yes. Oh crap, I gave us 5 2-star ratings. That explains a lot. Alright.
Well, we have a lot of things to do, so let's just sit here for a couple more minutes.
Yeah.
I think the green is kind of coming through in your right eye
Yeah?
a little bit.
It's okay. Because I can't see out of it, so maybe that's why.
But I feel healthy as a
Horse?
I've seen horses that feel this healthy.
Dairy cow.